Yeah, now we're live.
All right, cool. All right, welcome everybody. Me and the Entertainah once again talking about the Giants here. We're after week 4, going into week 5. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Mike, man. Glad to be on the channel, man. We got a lot to talk about. Not a lot of good off of last week, but we got a lot of things that we hope, that they could build off of last week. I thought that there were a lot of some positives, I should say, on both sides of the ball, mainly the defense. The defense played lights out, and hopefully they could grow off of that. And, as far as the offense goes, well, there's minor good things to say about the offense off last week.
Yeah, the defense definitely did much better than they did against San Francisco, I should say. But the offense is still the biggest issue of this team. And like just watching the game yesterday from like the coach's film, I don't know if they can fix it. Like there's so many problems here, whether it's Jason Garrett, whether it's just the talent on this team, the offensive line. Like I don't know what's going to happen here because I think things will get better, especially if Andrew Thomas and Will Hernandez get better. Things will get better as the year goes on, but right now things are not looking good at all. They're bottom of the league in offense in just about every category, so it's just about as bad as it can get right now for the offense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, we put up 18 points over the last 2 weeks combined. We haven't scored a touchdown. There's not a lot good you could say. The one positive I took out of the game, and maybe you didn't have the same take as me. I watched the majority of your post game, and I completely agree that the offensive line was bad, especially in the first half in pass protection. We again let up 5 sacks. The run blocking I thought was much better, specifically the second half. So to me, offensively, that was far and away the biggest positive on the offensive side of the football this week, and it's what I've been waiting for. And I think I'm hoping and thinking it's going to continue to get better over the course of the season. Nick Gates was a monster. Nick Gates was ferocious in this game. Got into the fight with Aaron Donald. I love seeing that. The offensive line I actually thought did a lot better than I thought they would in the second half, at least in terms of run blocking. You saw them get a push. You saw them start to move the ball on the ground, and hopefully they open up the offense a little bit this week.
Yeah, I agree. The offensive line, the first 2 drives at least, was just absolutely abysmal. The left side had no idea what they were doing. There was that one play where they were basically supposed to run the ball. All the receivers were run blocking, and it's like, we don't even know what's going on offense here with our own players, which is terrible. So, I think the offensive line will get better as weeks go on. Now, I put out this on Twitter before. I think Matt Parrott kind of deserves to start at right tackle. I don't know if you feel that way yet, but I feel like based on the way he's played so far, his 2 snaps in week 2, I think it was, he's been all right. Like, I think he deserves some snaps. Actually, no, it was week 3 against the Niners. He had 2 snaps, but he deserves some snaps, in my opinion. I would not be opposed if they decided to put him in there at right tackle, even now.
He got some snaps in this game, too. He was in there for like 2 drives, I think. And the other cool thing in this game was you saw Shane Lemieux line up as the fullback. I think that was like a play or two. That was cool. I'm like, what the hell? Did Elijah Penny get white and really fat? But no, I agree with you. I don't know if it's going to happen this week, but I think it's going to happen sooner than later with the offensive line. Fleming's actually, at least according to PFF, I didn't break down the film. He's played better, since the first couple of weeks. But at the end of the day, this is a season about progression. It's a season about finding out whether these players are going to be a part of the team going forward. And you have to evaluate Parrott, especially being due to the fact that in next year's draft, you're staring at, everybody's talking about a generational quarterback. You're staring at a generational tackle that you could potentially draft as well in Penei Sewell. And you have to see if Matt Parrott is a solid tackle in the NFL. I think we need at least 8 games of evaluation to decide whether or not he's the guy going forward. So I think you'll see him probably by midseason at the latest. That's my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I expect to see. I don't expect to see it this week. I think we would have heard about it already.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, my concern was, of course, being from UConn, 3rd-round pick, is that I don't want him to be thrown in there and be embarrassed. But I think he's played, 14 snaps so far this year. He's shown that he's not going to be an embarrassment. He might have some, hiccups here and there, but he has shown that he can at least compete and hold his own there. So I kind of expected at the beginning of the year that it might take till week maybe 12, 13 or so. But I think, by this point, maybe week 6, 7, 8, we might see him in there. I think it's going to be sooner than later at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should see what we got. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, I would like to see him at least after the bye, at the very latest. You see him the last 6 weeks. To see what we have and hopefully it grows going forward. In terms of Daniel Jones, that's going to be the big storyline, and not just this week, every week. And I did a video on that today talking about how I think Jones got a lot of pressure going into this game. And it's not all his fault. The offensive line sucks. We don't have any wide receivers. We're so desperate that I was talking about potentially bringing in Mohamed Sanu, who was cut today by the San Francisco 49ers, because our wide receivers are unproven. We don't have any talent right now, especially with Sterling Shepard out. You don't know if Golden Tate's going to be suspended after the scuffle that he got into after the game. So Daniel Jones has no help. I shouldn't say no hope, no help on this team right now. But at the end of the day, we talked about it last week, you're staring at a generational quarterback prospect and probably a new GM coming in, and Daniel Jones has to know that. And this week, he's going up against a defense that people have been able to move the ball on. They've given up over 38 points each of the last 3 contests. I think the focus is going to be squarely on Daniel Jones to have to try to find a way to make this work this week.
Yeah, there's a lot of, as I said, excuses that can be made for Jones, but we also have to acknowledge that he did not play well on Sunday. Like the decision-making was terrible, especially that last play. Like, the way he stares down receivers has to be worked on. You cannot do that. That's why he throws half these interceptions. Like the play against Fred Warner just stared him down the entire time. Like, you cannot do that. These people on defense are too good nowadays. They're going to pick up on that. And the guy in the Rams made an incredible play. I'll give him that. But the fact that Jones could have ran that ball for a first down, we still had about 55 seconds left and a timeout. There was no reason to make that throw, and the throw was to the wrong shoulder. It should have been to the outside shoulder, threw it too far inside, and let the cornerback make a play, and it turned into an interception. So Daniel Jones has no help with his play calling. There's no talent receiving-wise, but him decision-making-wise has to be better. Even that 4th and 11 throw to Golden Tate, you could say he should have caught it, maybe not. It was a bit high, but that throw should have been a lot lower and towards his right shoulder, keep it away from the defender. So there's a lot of mistakes he made in this game. Now, I know it's not fair because the left side of the offensive line was awful the entire game, so you have to include that. And the play calling does him no favors as well, but I think all parties are guilty here.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to make excuses for Jones. He doesn't have a lot of help. If we're being fair, there's no doubt about it. He made a couple of really nice throws in the game. I went back and, watched some of the people break down the film. He made a couple of really nice throws, but we say that all the time. We got to see consistency, and we got to see him grow as the season goes along. And I'm trying to be as fair as I can in this evaluation. I know a lot of Giants fans, they're, and rightfully so, are impatient. This team's been really bad, really, since our last Super Bowl, outside of 1 year where we played a really soft schedule. So I understand it, believe me, and we haven't seen a lot of progression. But I'm trying to be as fair as I can in my evaluation of Daniel Jones. But it's starting to come to the point of the end now of the excuse making, because now you've had what I call a full preseason. You've had 4 regular season games now to get somewhat acclimated to this scheme. And not all these mistakes are because of the scheme, but I'm sure that has something to do with it. He's got to grow. He's got to learn it. And not just him, all the players on this offense. So I'm not expecting a finished product this week, but I'm expecting him to be better. And I'm expecting the offense to be much better this week and going forward. You're going up against your weakest defense. That drive, I'm going to look at some of the positives of that drive at the end of the game. Dan Jones made some phenomenal plays with his legs. Could you imagine Eli Manning making that play with a pocket collapsed and he's able to spin out of it, pick up 14 yards? It was incredible. And then he makes another nice run, but he had to follow that up. He had an opportunity there to run for 7 yards, get out of bounds. You still had 45 seconds, whatever it may have been. And you would have had, 3-4 shots to get it into the end zone. So he's got to get better. And the one thing that's been really discouraging for me, for Daniel Jones so far this year, and obviously hopefully it gets a lot better, last year he was money in the red zone. He had 12 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the red zone last year. This year, he's struggling. You think back to that Steelers game, they got the ball at the 2. I know it's a great defense, but when you get the ball on the 2 against any defense and you got 4 plays to get in, you got to find a way to do it. And then the drive where they got it down to the 4, he threw the pick. This past week, they couldn't get it in. The week before, they couldn't get it in. That's where quarterbacks make their money. And Jones has to get a lot better inside the 20.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about it. Last year it seemed like they converted in the red zone pretty well. I don't know what the numbers were off the top of my head, but as compared to this year, at least, it was a lot better. So you have to take that into account. But another discouraging thing is that you can argue Daniel Jones has gotten worse every game. Like in week 1, he came out against the great Steelers defense. I thought played really well, aside from that one bad decision where he made on the 2-yard line, as he talked about. But then, week 2 against the Bears had some up and down moments. Then week 3, things get bad. Then last week, things kind of get even worse. And it's like, I know it's like 4 preseason games, as you said, and now like the real test starts and the excuses stop. But I'm kind of discouraged by that, knowing that he's not moving in the right direction, especially from last year. I know a lot of it might be him missing Pat Shurmur's system and things like that, and Jason Garrett not doing him any favors. But there's a lot of questions right now of whether he'll even be here next year. I think at this point, if the Giants did hold the first overall pick, it has to be in question. Like, Trevor Lawrence, we're talking about is the best prospect since like Andrew Luck, which would be great. So, he's not safe, but he'll have a lot more opportunities. There's 12 more games to prove he's the guy. I hope he does. I've always said it benefits the Giants greatly if they can hold on to Jones. And if they got like a top 3 pick, imagine how much they can trade back for with that pick. I just think it would help the franchise greatly if Jones proved to be the guy. But if he continues to make these mistakes week after week, the Giants might have their answer.
I'm in complete agreement with you. I think, and I know a lot of Giants fans are rooting for Lawrence, and I get it, because you hear he's the next Luck. And I always say you don't know until he enters the league. You can watch all the film you want. You don't know until he enters the league, and you don't know until you see him in this crappy situation, which is what the Giants have, whether or not he could flourish. And obviously, if they end up going that route, I hope that's the case. But I think as a Giants fan, the best thing that could come out of this year is Daniel Jones proves that he's at least worthy of a third year of evaluation, and proves that he has at least potential coming out of year 2, that he's improved in certain aspects and could be the franchise quarterback. I'm not going to tell anybody that I'm a mind reader or that I can predict the future or that I know it's going to happen. But when you look at all the other holes on this roster, you're passing up an opportunity to fill some of them if you go back and start from scratch again at the quarterback position. So I'm rooting and hoping that Daniel Jones gets better over these last 12 games. And I think if it's going to happen, it's going to start this week, because if you look at the schedule right now, we've got a couple of games here. And I'm not saying the Eagles have a bad defense. They have a pretty good defense, but we got familiarity there. It's a team that we could stick with. You got Washington, who's got a good pass rush, but it's a team we should be able to stick with. And if he could win a few games here, maybe build some confidence, people stop talking about the Trevor Lawrence stuff, but he's got to do it. And this is the softest part of the schedule. The next 6 games, we're playing 5 divisional opponents. The NFC East is horrible. I mean, the teams suck in our division. So this is an opportunity for him to accumulate some wins, because after that, you're looking at Seattle. You're looking at Baltimore. You're looking at Cleveland, who's looked really good now. Arizona, who's been but they still got firepower there with that offense. Cincinnati's a winnable game, and even Burrow looks good. It's not going to be easy to get wins down the stretch. And at the end of the day, no matter how much you or I may say that it's the right decision for Daniel Jones, if a new GM comes in and you're staring Trevor Lawrence in the eyes, which they could, I mean, if they don't win some of these games over the next 6 games, we're in trouble. Daniel Jones in trouble. Because those games, I'd be shocked if they win more than two of those games after the division with some of those opponents that they have to play. So he's got to find a way to win some games here. It's up to Daniel Jones to try to find a way to get some wins to make sure that he remains as the quarterback. What I wanted to ask you is, because a lot of people now are bringing up Fields, and they're bringing up why is the other name escape? Trey Lance. The other quarterback prospects. I'm going to give my opinion on it. I want to get your opinion first. Let's say we get the 2nd, the 3rd pick, and Jones is mediocre this year. There you go. Sorry about that, Mike.
Oh, you're good. What happened?
I'm getting a new laptop this week. I've been having computer issues, so my computer just completely – I think it's overheating, so I'm getting a new laptop this week, so sorry about that.
No, I thought it was my Wi-Fi, so you're good. We'll just blame ourselves for that one.
Yeah, so now I can't read the chat, but yeah, I was getting into the quarterback discussion with you with Trey Lance and Justin Fields. If say we had the 2nd or the 3rd pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I would do, I mean, look, I still have to watch more of them. I have to admit that first and foremost, but like With Trey Lance, I see such a high ceiling that it's very intriguing, but you have to take into account who he's been playing, and like it's not the best competition, obviously, for like North Dakota State. But Fields kind of reminds me, not exactly, but a same situation to Dwayne Haskins, a guy in a great system who doesn't really stand out to me so far. I still have to watch more, as I said, but I think he reminds me more of like a Dak Prescott type of prospect who might need to be in a good system and have a good team around him. I don't think Fields can carry a team, but Trey Lance has the upside and the ceiling to, I think, maybe be what Deshaun Watson is, honestly. Like, he's that good. So it's going to be interesting. Now, right now, I would rather just trade back that pick if we had the second or third pick, but it really depends. There's a lot of time to think about this, but I think Lance is a very interesting prospect. He has the highest ceiling, aside from Lawrence, obviously, but we'll see what happens. I'm kind of interested because, Sewell is a great prospect. I watched some of him. There's a lot of good prospects in that top 5 areas, so there's going to be a lot of options. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah, I mean, my take on it is, listen, the only way and everybody's different. The only way I'm taking a quarterback in this year's draft, almost regardless, with all the holes we have on our team, is if I feel that quarterback is a once in every 5-6 years type prospect. And if I don't feel that way about Fields, if I don't feel that way about Lance, I wait another year. I try to fix this team more. I try to give Jones more of an opportunity. Now, if you feel Lawrence is one of those guys, once out of every 5 or 6 years, you just can't pass on that. But if you feel a guy like Justin Fields, say you think he's a really good quarterback, but you're like, you know what, there's a Justin Fields in next year's draft. There's a Justin Fields in the year after that. There's always going to usually be at least one very good quarterback in every draft. I would wait another year and try to bolster this team around Daniel Jones and give him another year. That's my opinion on it.
I'm with you. Yeah, 100%. You can't force a quarterback pick. We talked about what happens when you do that. It does not go well. We've mentioned in the past, unless the Giants are 100% sold on somebody, I feel like picking a quarterback here is probably not the right idea. Now, it could work, obviously. I mean, if they hit on Trey Lance and he's the next, as we said, Deshaun Watson, that would be great. But if it fails, then you just make yourself look like even more of jackasses. You know what I mean? So, you never know what's going to happen here. I mean, these prospects are very hard to translate to the NFL. So I think taking the sure thing is probably the right idea. But as you said, if they feel a guy is a once in a 5 or 6 year type of prospect, then I think going quarterback might be the way to go.
Yeah, and hopefully, again, I think we're both hoping that Daniel Jones gets it going starting this week. And when you look at this Cowboys defense, Mike, is there any – and I know the offense is not playing well, but is there any excuses not to be able to at least put up some points and move the football with the way that they've operated the last – the first 4 weeks of the year, the Dallas Cowboys defense?
Not at all. No, I mean, especially like a team like the Browns, who a lot of Giants fans like to make fun of, to put up 49 points on them. I mean, come on. Like, the Giants have to do something here. Their secondary's in shambles. They can't tackle anybody. Van Der Esch is out. Their defensive line looks horrible. I mean, I just don't see any strength of this Cowboys defense right now. So I think there's no excuses here. They have to put up at least – this is the game to put up 20 points. They have to do it here. Get in the end zone at least 2 times for me, please. Don't be absolutely terrible and settle for field goals all the time. And Jason Garrett has that familiarity factor as well. That'll help this team. I feel like if there's a week for them to go off, it's probably this week.
And hopefully that spawns some momentum. And then you got Washington, who has a really good pass rush, but hopefully this offensive line is starting to get better, and we could match up decent against them and find a way to win that game. It's not like Washington's great, but hopefully we win this game. It starts to build some momentum. You then beat Washington, and who knows? It's not like the Eagles are that good. I know the Eagles beat the 49ers. That was unexpected. But maybe you get some positive vibes going. You find ways to win this. You find a way to win this football game. The only way they're going to win this game, though, by the way, and I'm not picking them to win this game, but the only way they're going to win this game is they have to play exactly like they did last week in the second half, only they need to cash in and get touchdowns. But they have to be able to get that push up front. They have to be able to run the ball effectively, get 3 yards, 4 yards. Every time you run the ball, positive yards, chew up that clock, because I'm sorry. And I'm trying to be positive with this Giants offense. We just don't have the personnel to stack up with the Dallas Cowboys, tit for tat in a shootout. We just don't. So to me, the only way we're winning this game, we have to control the clock. We have to be able to run the ball effectively. And Daniel Jones has to be good in the red zone. And if those can happen, I think we could win the game. Did I lose you, Mike? I think we're having technical difficulties. Hold on 1 second. Let me go into YouTube. Sorry about this. This is the first time on Mike's channel, so I don't know if that's what it is. I'm going to pull up his chat. Let me pull up his chat so that way I could at least talk to you guys, because I don't see the chat on my phone. All right, there you go. What's going on?
All right, you were cutting out the whole time. I just heard you now. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, I was cutting out? Okay. I just pulled
Yeah,
up the
yeah.
chat.
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna. A matter of fact, since I got the chat, I know you said that you couldn't see the chat. I'm gonna talk to a couple people in the chat, see if there's any questions. Let's see. Any questions you guys may have, please shout them out, man. What's going on, New York Mets? What's going on, Scotty? What's going on, Daniel Lucas? You need an IT guy? IT guy? I am. Yeah, I'm getting a new laptop. My laptop's been conking out the last I don't know, 2 weeks. I got to get a new laptop. I just bought it 3 years ago. Mark says, "What's up? This is cool on Mike's chat." Yeah, Mark. Mike's awesome, man. We're gonna be doing this every week. We're gonna be switching channels. Do you think we have a chance against the Cowboys? Cheese Whiz said. Well, I kind of just answered that, but I'll let you talk about it, Mike.
I'm sorry. The question about the Cowboys?
Yeah, Cheese Whiz says, "Do you think we have a chance against the Cowboys?"
Oh, yeah. I mean, if the offense finally gets it going here, then yes, but they're going to be tough to stop. Now, the Cowboys' strength, of course, is their offense this year. Dak Prescott's put up some crazy numbers. We know Zeke can run the ball. But if the Giants defense steps up here and can hold them maybe to 28, 31 points or something like that, then it's possible. But the offense cannot settle for field goals all the time. This has to be a game where Jones has one of those 4 touchdown, no turnover type of games. They actually find a way to run the ball. So while I agree with you, I don't think they'll win this week, but there is a chance. I have to admit there is a chance, but the offense cannot perform the way it's been the past month so far.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a chance, but a lot of Giants fans are going to go into this game with the expectations of, well, look what all these other quarterbacks did against it. And I'm not making excuses for Jones. It's just the smart game plan going in with the type of team we have. I know a lot of Giants fans are going to look at it and they're going to say, well, this team put up 40, this team put up 44. They're going to say, well, Jones has to throw at least 3 touchdowns in this game. He's got to throw for 350 yards. We can't do that against a team like this. We just can't. We don't have the firepower to stack up with a team like the Dallas Cowboys. I want a game in, like you said, in the mid-20s. If the Giants get me 24, 27, and can control the clock. Last week, they won the time of possession by 7 minutes. When's the last time that happened? I'd have to go back and look, but it's been a long time. And they were trailing in the time of possession by 2 minutes at halftime. It was 16-14, which means in the second half, the Giants beat them by 9 minutes over a 30-minute span. I mean, they completely dominated the time of possession in the second half. The Giants have to do that to win this football game. And that doesn't mean airing it out 45, 50 times. I want Jones to be efficient. And I want Jones, like I said, when he gets the opportunity, when you're inside the 20, when you're inside the 25, to make the plays he hasn't been able to make the last 2 weeks.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I'm kind of this team definitely can be better throwing the ball, but I just don't know about the receiving options. That's the thing. I don't know if I trust Garrett to scheme this thing the right way. But, as we've said, this is the prime opportunity to do so. If Jones is going to have that game, we're now past this, quote unquote preseason. We're 5 games in now. I think this is the time to do it. So I'm excited for the offense this week. I think, if they're finally going to do something, it's got to be this week.
It absolutely has to be this week. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the defense. But I want to get to Jawad's question. Great supporter of mine. He says, why do you think our run blocking improved so much? Was it just better effort or a change in scheme? That's a really good question. I know you do the film breakdowns more so than me. I'll just say what I visibly see based off week 1 to week 4. They're not doing the week 1, they were just trying too much. They were trying to pull Nick Gates, I thought, too much. To me, it's just been simplified a little bit. And I think maybe, like I've said going into the year, I thought it was going to take 5, 6 weeks, 7 weeks until we really saw this offensive line start to get to the point that we want it to be by year's end. And I think maybe this week we started to get baby steps in that area. I think maybe it's just them playing together more and getting more acclimated to one another.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they kind of simplified it more. We did see week 1, they tried a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of guys pulling. But I think it's mostly just the guys being more acclimated, the guys playing together. The right sides looked a lot better on the run blocking side. I think Andrew Thomas, run blocking wise, has not been the worst. And even Will Hernandez, I think, might have had one of his better run blocking games last week. So the guys are playing better individually, but I think they might have kind of dumbed it down a bit, and it's kind of making it easier. And really, I mean, Devonta Freeman played well. I have to admit that. Devonta
Freeman ran hard. I mean, he only had 33 yards on 11 carries, but it looked a lot better than that. He was running hard. He was pushing the pile. I was impressed with the running game, and I was impressed with the offensive line in that aspect. A lot of people came at me at the end of the game in my post-game video. They said, how could you be impressed with the offensive line? They only put up 9 points. Well, have you been watching this offensive line over the first 3 weeks? I mean, the running back was getting tackled 4 yards in the backfield every time he touched the ball. For once, we were getting a push. And I hope that continues this week. I actually think it will. I don't like Dallas's defense. I think the Giants are going to be able to run the ball fairly effectively, and I think that should set up the whole offense. The one thing that I said last week that I continue to say, I need to see more shots down the field. I mean, we didn't see it at all again. Got to see. I'm watching the Packer game last night, Mike. First play of the game, Aaron Rodgers comes out, and I'm not Daniel Jones, not Aaron Rodgers, but first play of the game, Aaron Rodgers comes out, he throws it 50 yards down the field. Do something like that, even if it's incomplete. Stretch out the defense.
Yep. No, you're right. We've gone over that. And as I went back and watched like some of the routes in the film review, they don't really have too many deep routes. A lot of it is short stuff. Like you don't see many routes going on like beyond 25 yards. A lot of it's like deep comeback routes and just cutting in. You don't really see anyone going deep. And I don't know if it's because they don't trust the quarterback. I don't know if they don't trust the offensive line. Maybe it's a combination of both. But as we said this after week 1 or week 2, they have to do a better job of stretching the field here because it's just making the defense's job against the Giants so much easier. You're limiting your space on offense. It just makes no sense. Like I think Daniel Jones, we've seen, is capable of making deep throws. Is he great at it? No, but he can do it. So I feel like there's no reason why they shouldn't try it.
Yeah, 100%. I want to get to the defensive side of the ball as well. Let me see if we got any more questions. We'll get back to the chat. I wanted to talk about the defense. I feel like we didn't talk about it enough because the defense deserves a ton of credit in this game. I mean, you go back, you look at that first drive, and I'm watching the game, and I'm saying to my, I was streaming the game, and that first drive, the defense looked horrible. It looked as bad as pretty much it has all year. And, I see the Rams are doing everything they want. They have this long, methodical drive. They punch it in for 6. And I thought it was going to be a long day. After that drive, I'm like, we're going to lose by 40 points. And the defense after that played a flawless game outside of the one play to Cooper Kupp. And I kind of want you to talk about that as well, that breakdown. I know Darnay Holmes came in for a blitz. It looked like they picked up the blitz. And then I don't know if it was a blown coverage assignment, whatever it may have been. But Cooper Kupp was just wide open. But outside of that one play, after the first drive, this is the best I've seen this defense look since 2016. That's how good it looked in this game. I thought they put a hell of an effort last week against the Rams.
Yeah, it's not crazy to say that since 2016, honestly. But that Cooper Kupp play, I think it was supposed to be like a cover 3, and then you have, of course, Darnay Holmes going on the slot blitz. I think Julian Love should have backed up and been that free safety, and they should have had Bradbury on one side. They should have had Lewis on the other side, didn't have Love in the middle. There was nobody in the middle. Logan Ryan and Julian Love were playing basically in the box, and you cannot have that. And then, of course, Cooper Kupp has the wide open middle of the field. Bradbury takes a bad route, and he goes all the way. But you take away that one bad play, you said it. They played, honestly, the best game I've seen on defense in a long time. And this is against no slouch of a team either. This team was putting up a crazy amount of yards, crazy amount of points. Yeah, they were great. Even against the Bills, who had a great defense, they put up, 32 points on them. So they've been doing a great job. They started off the year really hot on offense. I know they played the Cowboys week 1. I forget who they played week 2, maybe the Eagles. They put up a lot of points on them as well. So for this Giants defense to do what they did in a game where their offense was helping them in no way, I think it says a lot. I like Patrick Graham so far. He's done a great job. I can't really say the same about the offensive coordinator, but at least Patrick Graham himself has done a great job for this defense.
I see a lot of people talking about Tate Crowder. We'll get to him. He did get some opportunity. The other thing, there were 2 things in this game where I think you could question Joe Judge, in terms of his thought process. The first one was I think it was a 4th and 2. It was a 4th and short, and the defense had already been out on the field throughout the entire game, and that was the drive where they punted it and then they scored the touchdown to Kupp. Because you knew they were going to collapse eventually because the Giants couldn't move the ball. The Giants had it around midfield. I thought the Giants should have went for it in that spot. 4th and 2, you're right. I think they were at like the 49 of the Rams. And I get not trying to lose momentum. But the way I looked at it was this. Even if you don't get it there, and even if the Rams score the touchdown, it's still a one-possession game. I thought they should have went for it there to try to get some momentum. Maybe you make that field goal there. You take the lead, and then who knows? So I kind of questioned that. And then obviously the major question mark was later in the game where I think it was about 2:40 left, and the Giants decided to go for it on 4th and 11 rather than kick the 45-yard field goal. I want to get your thoughts on both of those.
I don't remember the first one. I remember they went for it at one point, and they had that completion to Caden Smith on a 4th down. I don't remember the situation, though, the first one you're talking about. The second one, though, I didn't mind them going for it on 4th and 11. They were down, 8 points at that point, or was it still a 4-point game?
No, it was 8.
It was 8. Yeah, I don't mind going for it there, honestly. I mean, the best chance you have really is just basically getting that fourth down conversion, which they should have had. That's the sad part. They should have had it. That should have been completed the Golden Tate. It would have been close because like the yard marker was right on the 20. He was catching that ball right on the 20. So like it would have been close, but they had a legitimate shot to get that. So, I don't really blame the coach for going for it there, but it's just the not execution part that really did him in. But the going for it, not going for it part, I don't remember what you're talking about exactly, but I know there was one play where they did like a play action to the left and Caden Smith was open, so they converted. But I wish I knew what you were talking about because I can't remember for the life of me.
Yeah, it was a 4th and short, and it was around midfield, and they punted it away. They gave it back to the Rams, and then the Rams had the touchdown, the 50-yard touchdown, the cup, or whatever it was. I thought they should have showed more aggression there, but I'm not going to go crazy with Judge, and I saw both sides of it there with deciding to kick the field goal or deciding not to. Because if you still need 2 scores, even if you kick the field goal, you're still going to need a touchdown either way. So the way I look at it, if I'm Joe Judge there, and why I could kind of understand it, even though the percentage is obvious, and everybody plays Monday morning quarterback after the fact. If they complete the 4th and 11, everybody goes, "Oh my God, he's a genius." But the way I looked at it was he gave the team 2 opportunities to score that touchdown by getting the ball back rather than kicking the field goal. He said to himself, "We're going to try to get it on the 4th and 11, and if we don't, we could still get the stop, get the ball back, go down, score another touchdown." Of course, if they kick the field goal, a touchdown ends up winning the game, but they were going to need a touchdown either way.
Yeah, you're right. It's, just a bunch of like looking back on it. And I think if they actually did convert there, we would have said Joe Judge is a genius. And if Daniel Jones doesn't throw that interception at the end, we would have also said he's a genius because if they score there, there's a chance they get the 2-point conversion. They bring the Rams to overtime, which would have been fantastic. So I can't really fault him for that. If I'll go back and see what you were talking about. I'll give you my opinion on it later. But, I guess in that situation, midfield, probably mid-4th quarter at that point, 4th and 2, as you said, probably should have went for it, but I got to go back and see.
Yeah. Like I said, it was just something I was thinking about. I think I saw Justin Pennick from Talking Giants talk about it on Twitter as well. Let's see what we got here. I just want to see if we got any questions here. Who's our cornerback 2? And I also see John saying too many missed tackles. I'm going to disagree there. I thought in this game the tackling was phenomenal. The week before the tackling was horrible. In this game, maybe one play, maybe 2-0 game where they had a poor tackle. It seemed like every time they caught the ball, they were tackled where they were on the spot. So I actually thought the tackling in this game was great. In terms of the cornerback 2, I can't remember the player's name. Why does it escape me off the top of my head? Why does it escape
Ryan Lewis, maybe?
Yeah, Lewis, 37.
Yeah.
He played really well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I didn't even know he existed until this week. And then I was like, who is this guy? He's actually really good. And I looked him up. He was on a bunch of different teams, a bunch of practice squads. And look, they tried it with Ballantyne. They tried it with Yadam. It didn't work. Now you throw in this Ryan Lewis guy. If he's the answer for them, that would be a great upgrade. So I will take that. But back to the missed tackling thing. I didn't think it was that bad this week either. The one bad thing I saw that really made me like throw my hands up was the first, I don't know if it was the first drive for the Rams, maybe. I think it was the first drive for the Rams. And it was Devontae Downs missing a tackle like in the flat. And that caused the first down for the Rams. Then, of course, they put Tate Crowder in. So at least the coaching staff, when players make mistakes, they are true to their word. They're benching guys, which is great. And I think Crowder played a lot better than Devontae Downs would have. But outside of that, the tackling was good in my opinion. It wasn't like it was last week against San Francisco, especially in the second half when guys were just running free on us and breaking every tackle. So, no, I really can't complain about that.
Yeah, I thought it was a fundamentally sound football game on the defensive side of the football pretty much the entire game. The second cornerback continues to be a question mark. But, yeah, Ryan Lewis, a guy, and I remembered I did a video on him when we brought him in, but obviously I didn't know too much about him. He played with Graham last year with the Dolphins. He played 8 games there. I think that had a lot to do with the fact why they brought him in. He played really well in this game. And Tate Crowder, people are talking about him. He obviously had that interception that was called back. I still think could have been an interception. Looked like it may have went off his knee, but whatever. But the one thing that I love that Joe Judge did in this game, he's not going to wait for guys to get better if they're not showing it. He's going to put the guys in there that he feels give them the best opportunity to win the game. We talked about it. You saw a pattern there for 2 drives. Fleming wasn't doing the job. He said, no, we're going to put pattern in there. They talked it over at halftime. Looks like they put Fleming back in maybe, after they talked things over, whatever it was. You saw Tate Crowder get an opportunity. You saw Ryan Lewis get an opportunity. He's going to give everybody an opportunity to try to make this starting lineup. And I like that he's trying to fix this the best he can.
Yeah, and I love that too. I mean, I don't know if it was in past years due to lack of depth or whatever it was, but we saw last year when Mike Evans was torching Janoris Jenkins, they just kept putting him on him after, snap after snap, and it just was not working. And then, like, even in the past, I always bring up Eric Flowers, bring up no competition for him. But now these guys are going to be held accountable, which can definitely help. I mean, the best of yourself is going to be brought out when there's good competition behind you. Like when you are solidified and you're the starter and don't have to work as hard, it's not going to bring out the best in you. But it's kind of like the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Like when they drafted Jordan Love this year, it's going to bring out the best in Aaron Rodgers. We knew it. You know what I mean? So that's exactly what happened here, and same thing's happening for the Giants.
And boy, did it. My God. When the Packers, not to get off topic here, but when the Packers traded up to get Jordan Love, I was like, what the hell are they doing? This team went 13-3 last year. They were a game away from going to the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, maybe he wasn't the Aaron Rodgers of old last year, probably due to the fact that he was learning a new offense. What are they doing? I thought they were a win-now team. You could have used that pick to help out the offense or the defense, whatever. They've never drafted him a first-round wide receiver. And now Aaron Rodgers is going out there with guys that they were flipping pizzas 2 weeks ago. And now he's got his tight end who was undrafted. He caught 3 touchdowns last night. He's throwing 30-yard bombs to Jamal Williams. Maybe he needed that kick in the ass. And maybe it's the same philosophy here with Joe Judge.
Yeah, I don't know. If I was a Packers fan, I would have been really pissed about that with the first couple picks they had in that draft. I mean, they're not helping the team now. And like that team, as we said, NFC Championship game, 13-3. You can argue they might have been a lucky 13-3 team, but you are what your record says you are. They made it that far. And this team still has 2 or 3 years left of a window to compete because Rodgers, in my opinion, at least last year, did not show signs of like slowing down. It's just like they ran the ball more. It wasn't like he fell off. If you look at his stats, maybe the yards weren't as good as they used to be, but like, he was really efficient last year. Now he's coming back this year with none of these draft picks helping him right now. He's doing a great job. So you got to love to see that. But the Packers, I feel like definitely screwed up in this draft. I'm not going to lie.
Maybe, but right now they look like they're the Super Bowl favorites. That's how good Aaron Rodgers looks right now. And to me, right now, it's either him or Russell Wilson for the MVP. 13 touchdowns, no picks. I loved it when everybody, because I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. People ask me all the time, who's the greatest quarterback you've ever seen in terms of a talent? I say Aaron Rodgers. And I've seen a lot of great quarterbacks. The things he can do on a football field. Everybody says this guy's done, blah, 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 going into the year. He had 50 touchdowns and 6 picks over his last 2 years combined. And people are telling me he's done. Now he's got 63 touchdowns and 6 picks over his last 36 games. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The guy's one of the greatest quarterbacks who ever lived. He's ridiculous.
Sign me up for that. Exactly.
Yeah, sign me up for that. It's right. Daniel Jones. Let's put this in perspective. And I'm not bashing Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has 1 less pick in the first 4 games this year than Aaron Rodgers has over his last 36.
Yeah, that's insane.
Eli Manning threw 5 picks in 1 game. Aaron Rodgers got 6 in his last 36. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And some people bring it up as a bad thing that like sometimes Rodgers doesn't force the ball downfield, but give me the guy that's going to be a little more conservative and not turn the ball over. Like Rodgers will not lose you a game, but can also win you games, which is great. You can't say that about many quarterbacks.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. He could put the team on the back when need be. And he's smart enough not to lose you the football game. He's kind of the best of both worlds. And hopefully Daniel Jones becomes close to that, but I don't see it. I want to see DJ with decent wide receivers. Our wide receivers need a total overhaul. Lucas, I completely agree with you. Our wide receivers are horrible. I mean, and I'm not, Darius Slayton I still like. I still think Slayton could be a good wide receiver. I don't think he's a 1. He, of course, had that big fumble, I think the week before, if I'm not mistaken. And he hasn't done much since week 1. And I think it's because he's starting to get more attention, and he's not a true number 1 wide receiver. And outside of that, you got Golden Tate getting into fist fights after the game. The guy's already been banged up. He's like 32. You got Sterling Shepard. He gets a concussion every other week. And after that, I mean, Damian Ratley was pretty decent in this game, but I mean, who knows what he is? And same thing with CJ Board. The one thing I'll say, I don't know if it needs a complete overhaul, but I think we need 1 premium wide receiver, because if you get that, it slots Slayton back to what he should be, which is a 2. And then you probably have Shepard at the slot, at least going into the year before he gets hurt week 3.
I see people bringing up Allen Robinson's name. I think that would be a great fit for the Giants, honestly. And that's why it annoyed me. Like, people were talking about Darius Slayton being the number 1 guy already, like being a number 1 wide receiver for the NFL standpoint. I didn't see that yet. I was hoping he would get there. I still don't think we've seen it, but like, you can't overrate a guy because of 1 game. I know he had a lot of touchdowns last year, but he's never gotten true wide receiver 1 type coverage. Now he's getting more respect, and he has not made an impact the past 3 weeks, really. So I got to keep that in mind. Sterling Shepard cannot play, unfortunately. I feel like he's good for Jones when he's there. Golden Tate's a guy I've watched his whole career. I've always kept a close eye on him. You can tell he's lost a step. He's not really the same type of guy, not nearly as elusive as he used to be. There were some plays in yesterday's game where you definitely would have seen him kind of bounce it and maybe get a first down out of it, some more yards after the catch. But now Golden Tate is struggling to really be as elusive as he used to. So, it really just goes back to, I don't want to bring this up, but trading Odell Beckham even. Like, you can bring that up and people say this guy needs a number one wide receiver. And, of course, I didn't want to trade Odell, but now he's gone and he's putting up some great numbers so far this year. So I do wish Jones had that guy. And I brought up the idea once on Twitter of like trading I think I said second and fourth round pick for Allen Robinson. And some people love the idea. Some people hated it. But what do you think your opinion is on that?
Yeah. First, I'll talk about Beckham. And I'm always honest. I'll admit, sometimes when I'm wrong, I don't know if I'm wrong yet, but I'll say this. I was completely for the Beckham trade. And I still understand why they made it. And even, anybody that's unbiased has to at least understand why they made the trade. But I will say, but now let's be fair. He did play Dallas last week. I think Slayton's going to look good this week. So, but I will say, yeah, it's what we need right now. I still don't think we would have won very many football games, even if we had Beckham still on this team, but we would have been a much better team, and it would have been fairer to evaluate Daniel Jones. I will agree there. In terms of trading for Allen Robinson, I'd have to look into his contract details. How much longer is he under contract?
I don't know. I could look it up real quick, but I forget. I don't think his contract's too crazy though.
Like if I knew, and what is he, about 27?
Yeah, 27, I believe.
If I knew we had him for 3 more years under a cost-effective contract, yeah. If the guy's only got 1 year on his contract, I'm not making a deal. But if I got 3 more years of team control and it's not a crazy contract, that's the type of deal I'm potentially looking to do, because it's not just for evaluating Jones this year. It gives you that number one for the next 2 years, either for Jones or for your new quarterback, and it gives you more freedom in the draft to not have to take a wide receiver early. So if a deal like that made sense, if you had a young receiver under 3 years worth of control, I could see the Giants doing something like that.
Yes, he's on the last year of his contract right now. Last year's 2020. He's an unrestricted free agent next year, so they could wait it out. But, of course, you go under the risk of him being franchise tagged. $15 million cap hit this year, $4 million dead cap hit. So, he could be a free agent at the end of the year. I feel like with a talent as good as him, they'll probably try to franchise him. I don't see him hitting the market, but if he does, he's the type of guy I hope the Giants throw a lot of money at.
Yeah, then I wouldn't do the trade based off of that. If he, knowing he's going to be a free agent next year, because I think there'll be other wide receivers if he doesn't become one that are available, maybe not of his caliber, but I don't want to trade away a second and a fourth round pick if I don't have 3 years worth of control. I look at a guy like Sammy Watkins. Believe me, if we're just talking in terms of talent, I'd much rather Allen Robinson. I'd much rather Juju Smith-Schuster. But I look at a guy like Watkins. He's probably still 27, 28. He's not going to cost nearly as much. And of course, if you want to throw the money at a guy and he's a free agent, you throw it at him. But I think there'll be names. The Chiefs aren't going to be able to afford to keep Watkins because, they got to pay everybody else there. So I could see a guy like that, being a guy that you sign. He's got height. And maybe with the Giants, he puts up better numbers. But I think we all agree, no matter what, the New York Giants need to address this wide receiving core, and they need to address it in a big way, whether it's in free agency or the draft next year.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, when Gettleman took over, he talked about building from the inside out, but he didn't say there was going to be nothing on the outside, I expected at least one good receiver here. We haven't really seen any, so they got to be more consistent. And I don't really blame Jones because guys are not really getting open. There's not many opportunities. And when I went over the film, so many opportunities where he had guys in his face before guys were even breaking for the ball or looking for the ball. You can't just throw the ball when guys aren't looking. So people say lead the guy with anticipation, but when Jones has less than 2 seconds to throw the ball and guys aren't out of their break yet, I don't really know what you can do in that situation. So it really comes back to the offensive line. They have to be better, but it would also be nice, as you said, if the Giants can get themselves a Sammy Watkins on a cheap deal. I mean, his injury history kind of concerns me, but on a good deal, hopefully they can get him, maybe draft somebody in round 2, 3, hell, even 1 if it works out correctly. We'll see. But they need somebody for sure because this receiving core ain't it.
No, this receiving core is certainly not it. And I still think you're going to need to draft a lineman in next year's draft. Even if it's not a guy to start, you need to continue to build the youth, the depth, and that's what you're looking at on the offense. You need a premier receiver. You probably still continue to need to build up that offensive line. But the most encouraging thing about this year to me, maybe this sounds crazy, and maybe people want me to be so negative because that's the way a lot of the Giants fans are, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be a lot of people that comment on my videos. And we're 0-4. Mike, believe me, I freaking hate being 0-4. I hate losing, okay? But I go into this year, and I knew what we were going to be. I was obviously hoping to be a little bit better, but I knew this was going to be a team that struggled coming out of the gate, and I knew that we were still rebuilding, and it's going to take another year. It might even take 2 more years to get to where we want to be consistently. And as long as we get there and we're consistent after the fact, it's what I want. But maybe I'm crazy. I'm actually optimistic about where this team is right now, specifically on the defensive side of the football. I didn't think this defense would be anywhere near what we've seen so far through 3 games. The third game was horrible, but they put forth an unbelievable effort last week. They played really well week 1 and 2. And going into the year, that was a huge question mark. So far, you got to be beyond excited about this defense.
No, I agree with you. I thought it would take them a little while to get into it, but as you said, they came out. They were really good this year. They are a legit pass rusher away and maybe a cornerback 2 away if this Ryan Lewis guy doesn't work out from being a top 10 defense, like a solidified top 10 defense. And they have a good defensive coordinator, it seems like. I love what he's done so far. So you're right. That one side of the ball seems to be good, but the offense is so bad right now that it kind of brings my expectations down. But if we ever get an offense here that can put up, hell, even 25 points a game, somewhere league average, this team can actually win some games. But the offense is so bad right now that it's just not possible.
Yeah, I see Roldy in here, who I love. We always go back and forth. He says, Chris, that's nonsense about the defense. I'm assuming he's referring to. Listen, Roldy, first up, we're without our second-round pick, McKinney, who I think we all agree could be an impact player. We don't know, but he definitely could. We're without our second-round pick, McKinney. Last week, we didn't have Peppers in the lineup. We went up against the team that was the best offensive football. We held them to 17 points. And I'm not telling you it's a finished product. It's not. But if you thought, Roldy, or anybody in this chat thought, with all the injuries we've had, that this defense was going to look as good as they have in 3 of these 4 games this year, coming in, you either came in with unrealistic expectations or no, that's it. You came in with unrealistic expectations. If you thought this defense was going to look as good as it has over the first 4 weeks, we are far from a finished product. We still need to add at least, like you said, an edge rusher and probably a cornerback too. But the defense looks better than I thought it would. That's what I'm saying. I'm not telling you we're the 85 Bears. I'm not telling you we're the 86 Giants, the 2000 Ravens. I'm telling you the defense looks a lot better than I thought it would over 4 weeks.
Yep, definitely. And that's a good point about the safeties being out. I mean, I always forget about McKinney. I honestly forgot Jabril Peppers was out. So to have that with your backup safeties in, I know a lot of it was Logan Ryan and Julian Love, but still with those guys out, I mean, McKinney's going to help this team so much. I don't think people realize how much McKinney will help this team if he's healthy. I mean, of course, he might take a little while to come back and he might not be 100% right away, but a healthy McKinney would help this team so much. He is such a good build for the modern NFL. I think he's going to help this team a lot, especially with covering tight ends and things like that. So I'm excited to see what he's like. Hopefully we see him in November fully healthy, but he'll help this team a lot. And Jabril Peppers will definitely help with the run game and things like that. So to not have those guys and essentially hold the Rams to, I don't want to say exactly 17 because they made that mistake on defense. It could have been like 12, honestly. If they didn't make that mistake on defense, it could have been even less. To hold them to 17 in 2020's NFL, it says a lot. It's a great thing.
Yeah, and maybe I misinterpreted what Roldy said. Maybe he was talking about the team as a whole. He said he wasn't talking about the defense. I was specifically talking about the defense. You're not going to hear me come on and tell you that the offense I'm encouraged by. The offense has been worse than I thought it would be. So on that side of the ball, it's been discouraging. But I do think the offense will get better. I do honestly believe that in my heart. I do think by the second half, just the offensive line alone, I think will be better. And that alone will make us a better offense. Whether or not Daniel Jones is the guy, that remains to be seen. And I'm not telling you that we don't need help with the wide receiver. It's what we said this entire podcast. But in terms of the defense, by the way, Talking Giants is in here. I freaking love Bobby. Did a phenomenal film breakdown today. I watched the offensive line film breakdown. Bobby, keep doing what you do. Great job. Great job. But, I'm encouraged by the defense. The defense is much better than I thought it would be. And maybe people don't want to hear that. Maybe there's a lot of fans that just want to hear that the world is ending. This team sucks. We're 0-6. I know the team sucks. You know the team sucks. But you have to look for some positives in a year like this. And I think the defense has been a positive. I think Blake Martinez has been much better than we could have expected. Same for James Bradbury. I think there's positives in this season so far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do want to agree that the Talking Giants guys are awesome. Subscribe to them; they're awesome guys. Even on Twitter, they're good follows. So, hey guys, thanks for joining. But yeah, I mean, the defense is, as I said, they are close to a finished product. We do need those two important positions: the cornerback, two of the pass rusher. But they are close, and I think with Tate Crowder, the way he played this week, we haven't touched on him yet. It's exciting. I mean, Tate Crowder brings an athletic linebacker to this team that we have not seen in a while, and Blake Martinez. I mean, look, I wasn't the biggest fan of signing him. I was kind of happy with the contract. They didn't overpay for him like crazy, which was good, but he's exceeded my expectations as well. And the guy I wanted, Corey Littleton's been playing like crap this year, apparently. So good job by the Giants front office right there to get that one right. And Blake Martinez is still young. He'll be here for a while. He doesn't miss games. He's been wrapping up on his tackles. He's been great in my opinion. Same with James Bradbury. He's exceeded my expectations. I expect him to be pretty good this year. I predicted he would have a Pro Bowl year, which I guess means I thought he'd be good. But this is even better than what I thought. Like, he's been amazing this year. And if he keeps that up, then that's great value on his contract as well.
And they're only 3-year deals. And at this point, the way they're playing, I'm kind of saying to myself, I wish they were 4-year deals. Because Martinez and a lot of people bashed that signing, myself included. I was not. I shouldn't say I bashed it, but let's say I wasn't overly excited about the signing. Martinez has been good, and we haven't seen good middle linebacker play in quite some time. I'm not telling you he's great in coverage, but he's been good. Fackrell's been pretty good too. The last 2 games specifically, Kyle Fackrell's played really well. It's only a 1-year deal, and Bradbury's been great. I mean, on the defense, obviously, like we said, we still need that edge rusher. Lorenzo Carter doesn't strike fear into people's hearts. I also wanted to ask you this. I wanted to get your opinion on the defensive line, because when you look at this Giants defensive line right now, and we're talking potential trade deadline deals, you saw Austin Johnson play last week. Austin Johnson played really well in 13 snaps. He forced a fumble. He had a sack. BJ had a sack the week before. We have a lot of talent on the defensive line because apparently that's all Dave Gettleman likes on defense. But no, I'm kidding. He did try at the cornerback. DeAndre Baker just got thrown in jail. But if you're the Giants, I think you got to try to do everything in your power. And Gettleman probably won't try to do this because he traded for him. But being that Leonard Williams, in my opinion, has by far the most trade value, and being that he's a free agent next year, and I don't think you're going to want to pay him what he's going to want, I think you got to try to do everything in your power to trade Leonard Williams at the trade deadline.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I don't know which guy that would get exactly for him, but you're right. If they're not going to re-sign him and don't have the plans, if the Giants are not in his price range, or vice versa, it would make a lot of sense, because right now he's under contract. You brought him back on the franchise. If you're not going to sign him for the future, why wouldn't you trade him? You're 0-4. You're probably going to be somewhere like 1-7, 1-8 towards the trade deadline, whatever it would be. Maybe best case scenario at this point, but still, to trade him would make a lot of sense. And if you can get a valuable piece on defense for him, you might have thrown a pick as well. And it would hurt not to have their 3rd or 4th round pick because of the Williams trade itself. But if they can get somebody, I mean, you might as well do it, because they have enough depth, as you said. BJ Hill's there. Austin Johnson, as you said, played 13 snaps, had a sack, a fumble in there as well. So he's been great. And then you have Dexter Lawrence, who we know is a keeper. Dalvin Tomlinson's a free agent, a guy that we both probably want to re-sign here. So I think they have enough talent defensively on that line right now. So if they can trade a guy like Leonard Williams, who they're probably not going to keep, I think it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, and I like Leonard Williams. Anybody listen, I don't want them to think I don't like Leonard Williams. It's just at the end of the day, we need to get as many picks as we could get. Leonard Williams isn't signed after this year. And I look on this roster, I don't see many players that you would look to potentially trade that have more value than he does. Or maybe Evan Ingram. That's about it. Somebody said I got to answer Rose Tab's question. Let me answer that real quick. Who has the best O-line in the division right now? Oh, that's a good question. Oh, wow. I still got to lean Cowboys. The Cowboys, it's been underwhelming. It hasn't been as good. The Eagles' offensive line's horrible. The Washington football team's offensive line's not good either. I still got to go Cowboys.
I don't know who the Cowboys have struggled so much this year. Like, I want to say Washington. Now, I haven't watched them that closely this year, but I don't know. Like, I just don't think it's a clear answer for – it used to be Dallas, like, no questions asked, but now we're at a point where they're not playing well. I mean, Myles Garrett was in the backfield that entire game last week, and Dak Prescott was getting hit over and over again. So I don't know if I can say Dallas definitively. And then you have the Eagles, who just seem to get hurt all the time. Lane Johnson was hurt at one point last game. Jason Peters, Andre Dillard's out. Like they have so many injuries, and even Graham's out as well. So I might say Washington. I would say Washington or the Cowboys, but the Giants maybe in the future have that talent, especially if Thomas and Parrott and Lemieux all pan out. They might be that team. Hopefully they are, because they definitely have the youth for it, but hopefully these guys got to pan out first.
I wouldn't be shocked, like you said, if the Giants have the best offensive line in a year or two, because of how many resources they put into it, and because these other offensive lines are getting older. You look at the Eagles; they're all banged up. They've got old offensive linemen. The same can be said for Dallas, and it's why I like the way that they've built, and it's why I still have hope going forward, especially if this defense continues to progress. We got to get the offense figured out. There's no doubt about it. But the defense leaps and bounds better than last year. And I think the most of it, we talk about the personnel. And the personnel has been great in terms of the guys they brought in. We haven't even gotten to see McKinney yet. But, in terms of the free agents, the two main pieces we brought in, I think most of it has to do with Patrick Graham. I don't think Patrick Graham's getting enough credit. So you could nitpick and say maybe you should blitz here, blitz there. Patrick Graham is scheming this defense to good performances. I think Patrick Graham's been a really nice acquisition by the Giants.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, obviously, because, Brian Flores probably had a lot of say in their defense. And even in Green Bay, he wasn't like the main guy, it seemed like. But even now, it's like he's doing so many great things for this defense. And, he's doing good things because he basically, as Talking Giants said, will attack your weakness. And he's doing a great job at it. So I love what he's doing. The defensive rotations are good. They're not sticking with the same guys and overplaying them. I remember they did that with Jason Pierre-Paul and Olivier Vernon back in 2016. Did that way too much. They're rotating guys in, keeping them fresh. And these guys seem like they want to play for these guys like Joe Judge or Patrick Graham. Like they're playing really hard for them. I know the second half of the Niners game wasn't the best showing, but outside of that, they're playing really hard. They might not have the best talent right now, but even scheme-wise, I think Patrick Graham's doing all he could.
Yeah, I think he's done a hell of a job so far with the talent that he does have on this New York Giants roster. Rosetab says thoughts on Evan Ingram. You know what? I'm gonna be fair. I bash Evan Ingram every week, and I went into this year with high expectations. Ingram, I fell for the trap again. I'm gonna be fair this week. I actually thought he played a pretty good game. I know the stats may not indicate it. I thought he made a couple of nice plays. He had that first catch at the beginning where he broke the tackle. He picked up an extra 7 or 8 yards. He made one really nice catch. It was all hands where he had to reach out and bring it in. I don't think he had any drops. Maybe he had one. The blocking he actually looked like he was putting in effort in some of the plays that I did see them show him. So I actually thought this was Ingram's best game of the year. But I'm still not a fan of the way he's played so far.
Yeah, it's been a little disappointing. I mean, I wasn't really all in on him this year. That was last year for me, as I said. But, when they throw him the ball, he's been all right, especially recently. I think he played well on Sunday. I think he had a drop on the first play, but really aside from that, I thought he was fine. And people are saying Ingram needs to go. Look, if you can get a good pick for the guy, I say you do it. But, he's not really the problem right now. I think in week 1, week 2, he was atrocious, but now he's getting better. And I kind of hope the Giants target him more because he's one of their best offensive weapons. I know that's not saying much, but really, Evan Ingram is one of the best offensive weapons on this team, especially with Saquon Barkley out. So, they have to utilize him more. I kind of hope he gets more targets and hopefully he does more with them. But I don't think Ingram's been a problem here the last 2 weeks. I would agree with you. He's been looking a lot better.
Yeah, I think he's looked better. And like you said, you look at the weapons on this team, who does he have to throw to? I mean, you got to use Ingram a little bit more in the offense. Hopefully they do this week against the Cowboys. The other thing that I think is a really good storyline going into this game, Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett obviously coached the Cowboys for a number of years. He knows the personnel there pretty well. They know his scheme pretty well. Mike McCarthy's been really underwhelming there so far for the Cowboys. But
shocker.
What did you say?
Shocker.
Shocker. Yeah, by the way, I was so happy that we didn't hire Mike McCarthy.
Oh, yeah. I would have been mad as hell.
If you won one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers over 10 years or whatever, I don't want you. And I have a hot take for you. Let's say the Dallas Cowboys go 3-13, 4-12. I'm not saying they're going to, but let's just say they did. Does Mike McCarthy get fired?
For how loyal they were to Jason Garrett all those years, it'd be hard to believe. But this team has a lot of high expectations. So to win 3 or 4 games, that would be ugly. I feel like for that to happen, I feel like Dak might have to get hurt or something like that. So maybe they give him a pass. I don't see it, but I could see it in 2 years. Maybe I can see that for sure. But I can't see 3 or 4 wins in a division this bad. But if it did happen, I guess it's on the table. I just feel like they give him another year, to be fair.
That defense is so bad.
Oh yeah.
in Dallas. But what do you think about that? Who do you think has more of an advantage with that? The Giants being the Garrett coach there, or the Cowboys being being that they know Garrett?
I guess I would say the Cowboys probably, because defensively they probably know what he likes to do. Now for the Giants, you don't really know. Like Jason Garrett, I guess, paid attention to the defense, of course, but Dallas has a lot of new defensive pieces. So I don't know if it'll help him that much. The offense seems to be more guys that were there from last year. So I guess in a way, I don't know. It's going to help both sides, I guess, but I think it might help the Cowboys a little more because they probably know play call wise what Garrett likes to do. There's enough on tape right now, but I'm honestly hoping that there's some stuff they haven't called yet, and maybe Jason Garrett unleashes everything out of the bag of this game and puts together his best game calling, game wise. But we'll see. I mean, I'm excited for this game. As I said, it's the best chance for them to get right, and hopefully they find a way to do it finally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think Garrett's shown the full playbook yet. I do think it's been a bit vanilla. I think you're going to see a lot more of it this week. I think he's going to try to pick on that decimated Cowboys secondary. But by the same token, I still think he should at least try to control the clock. I don't want them trying to get into a shootout against this Dallas Cowboys team. But I think there's going to be opportunities, and especially, like I said at the top of the pod, the fact that Jones has struggled so mightily in the red zone. I think he's going to try to take shots at, maybe 35, 40 yards out, try to hit Slayton on a couple of plays, try to pick on this secondary. I expect to see it. I think they're going to open up the offense. And maybe I'll be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, just like most people that have opinions. But I think that's going to be the game plan going in. And I'm excited for it. I really am. I'm as excited for an 0-4 football team as you possibly can going into this week. Last week really gave me a lot of, not hope, but I really enjoyed the way they played. I really did. Even though they only scored 9 points, they played really tough, and I saw improvements in a lot of areas that I wanted to see outside of the quarterback. So I'm really excited going into this week.
Yeah, compared to week 3, I mean, I was just ready to just give up, not give up on the season, but just like, are we really this bad? It kind of felt like. But after seeing what they did last week, a lot more optimism for sure. As we said, they need to hold Dallas's offense to under 30 points. I don't think we're a team that's going to score a lot of points, but as we said, this is the week to do it. So, hopefully, and someone said give Austin Mack a shot. I completely agree with that. I don't know why he wasn't dressed for that game. It annoyed me. I'm an Austin Mack fan. Hopefully they give him a shot. But the defense, they should be, they're not in the best spot here because Dallas's offense has been phenomenal. Like, we know that right now. They can move the ball as well as anybody. They made the Browns look terrible. The Browns defense is not good. Their D line's good, but their secondary is terrible. But at least our secondary is probably better than Cleveland. So Dak Prescott might not have a 500-yard day once again. But if they can just find a way to keep them under 30, I think the Giants are alive in this game.
I do too. And did you make your picks yet?
Did not, no.
Okay. I think the spread is like 10.
Really?
It's up,
wow.
It's up there. But I'm going to do the picks again this week. Didn't do them last week. I'm picking the Giants this week. I think they're going to keep – I'm not saying I'm picking them to win. I'm picking them to cover the spread. I think they're going to keep it close. I was inspired with the way the offensive line – and maybe I'll look like a fool. And if I do, I'll be negative with everybody else at the end of the week. But I think – I'm hoping at least last week was a springboard, and this team's going to start to get better. I'm not telling you they're going to be a good football team. We're not. But I'm hoping they start to get better. Similar like the Miami Dolphins last year. They started out 0-7. They finished 5-11. I'm hoping that they get better each and every week. And I think last week is hopefully a springboard. Now, week 3 definitely had me down in the dumps. I was so down in the dumps that I didn't have much of an inspiration to be on YouTube. Well, I'm back. Last week, they gave me energy. I'm excited for this week. And, and I just hope it gets better. And I think it will. I'm excited. But, I know you said we want a little bit longer than you said you wanted to. So I don't want to keep you here all day. Maybe we'll answer like another one or two more questions. Thank you to everybody for being here. Well, and Mike, thank you for having me on your platform. Always love doing this with you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll answer a couple questions here. I guess I'll let you do it, but
yeah.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah. We'll answer a couple of questions here. Let's see. We need to, yes, I completely agree with that, CM. Like, we need to continue to run the ball as much as possible. Giants' problem is they're thinking too much. All right, JBs. I kind of had a similar thought process, at least with Jones specifically. Did you get that feeling at all watching that game this week that Jones was trying not to make a mistake?
Yes.
That's how I felt. Like he was I don't know if scared is the right word, but he was, rather than trying to make the play, until the last drive, of course. He was trying to not make the mistake that cost them the game.
I saw exactly the same thing. I think he was playing too uptight. He wasn't letting it loose. And, you're not going to succeed like that, honestly. I mean, that's got to change. I don't know if it's Jason Garrett's fault. I don't know if it's Daniel Jones and the turnovers getting to his head, but like he needs to just play more freely like we saw last year. I think after a while you hear so many talks about the turnovers, and maybe it gets to him, but forget all that. Block it out and go out there and play football. Like I feel like you're right. He was definitely playing too uptight last week. He was just, concerned of making a mistake, and you can't play like that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I loved about Eli. Hate it or love it. We all lived with all the horrible, silly, the left-handed interception. We lived with silly mistakes by Eli Manning. But the thing that I loved about him, he didn't care what the defense was. He didn't care what the score was. He didn't care he was going to keep chucking it. And, it's kind of like in basketball. When you're a shooter, Reggie Miller, John Starks, guys weren't scared to shoot. They could be 0 for 10. They're going to keep shooting. And you have to have the same mentality as a quarterback. And I didn't like what I saw to Daniel Jones in that aspect this week. I thought that he was a little reluctant to take more shots. Now, you could definitely attribute that, obviously, to the talent around him. I'd probably be scared, too, to be honest with you, Mike. If I had the blocking that he did, and if I had the level of talent at the wide receiver position that he does, I'd probably be a little scared to take some shots, too. But at the end of the day, you got to let it rip sometimes. And I felt like he reined himself in just a little too much.
Yeah, you're right. Shooters got to shoot. You said it correctly right there. I know it's a basketball reference, but 100% right when it comes to quarterbacks as well. I like what you said there.
Yeah. We'll try to answer like two more, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. Could any quarterback win with this offense? Authentic says. You know what, Authentic? I don't even say it anymore because anytime I bring that up, people say, you're making an excuse. I'm going to tell you right now, Authentic. And by the way, Authentic's got a fantastic YouTube channel. Absolutely love that guy. Going over there, check him out. He's got an NFC East podcast. There are a handful of quarterbacks, not win the Super Bowl, but they could win some games on this team. There's a handful of quarterbacks that could maybe win 8 games, 9 games, but they're few and far between. Aaron Rodgers is one of them. Now, let's be fair. Aaron Rodgers does have a great offensive line, even though his weapons are all out. He does have a very good offensive line. But Aaron Rodgers, I think, is one of them. Wilson's one of them. And I'll say that Mahomes is probably one of them. But the thing I'll say about Mahomes, Mike, can you tell me a quarterback in the last ever that's had a better situation than Pat Mahomes? So, and I'm not saying he's not immensely talented. He is. But there's not a lot of quarterbacks, in my opinion, that can come in here and thrive and win games with the way the team's currently constructed.
Yeah, I mean, Dak Prescott had a pretty good situation. It's not to Mahomes' level. Yeah, you're right, though.
But he didn't have
you said exactly Yes, that's a big thing, 100%. Even Eric Bieniemy, who people love to give credit to as well. But yeah, you listed the 3 names. I would say I think Rodgers is one of them. I would say Wilson, and of course you have Mahomes. I mean, I don't really think there's anybody else. I think Josh Allen does good things off script, but even he's not good enough yet to win with this team. So, I can't really say him. I want to say Deshaun Watson, but he's proving right now with the Texans he can't win in a bad situation either. So, yeah, man, I guess there's probably maybe a few. I really, you can't expect Daniel Jones to be that. Like, if you expected Daniel Jones to be that guy to put the team on his back, it's not going to happen. Like, it's, it is what it is.
Well, I think that was the problem. A lot of my subscribers have brought that up in my live streams. I think that was the problem going in for Daniel Jones. There was unrealistic expectations based on the fact that he had a horrible team around him and based on the fact that we probably drafted him a little bit earlier than we should have because we needed a quarterback. And he was the guy that we decided was going to be the guy in that draft. It was a weak quarterback class. But Daniel Jones was never thought to be that type of quarterback, an Aaron Rodgers level talent. And you could win without Aaron Rodgers level talent. But when you have the team that we do, you're not going to win. I don't care who the quarterback is unless they're that type of quarterback, which is, like I said, that's why I'd be open to drafting Trevor Lawrence because people seem to think he is that type of quarterback. But if Lance is not that type of quarterback, I don't want him because if you're not that type of quarterback with this team, you're not going to make much of a dent. And by the time that you will, you're going to be 3 years into your rookie deal. I'd rather have the team situated to get the most out of the rookie contract of the quarterback that we bring in. Now, if you're a type of quarterback like Trevor Lawrence that could overcome anything, that people seem to think he's a magician, have at it. But unless you're that type of level quarterback this year, I don't even want to think about drafting you.
You're right. It's much better to have that rookie quarterback contract when the team is situated and ready to go. But also, you can argue that you're probably not going to have as good of a pick because the team would be better. You know what I mean? So, like, it goes both ways. But you're right. It would be better to have a situated team ready to go and make a run. But the Giants don't seem to be in that situation right now. Now, maybe if Andrew Thomas comes around, if the offensive line comes around, they pick up a receiver or two in free agency in the draft, maybe things look a lot better here. So we'll see. But it really depends if they're in the position to get Lawrence, if they think Trey Lance is the real deal, if they think Fields is the real deal. We'll see. Maybe it's Daniel Jones once again. But they need to have better weapons offensively. I think we both agree there, obviously.
That goes without saying.
Yeah.
that goes without saying, man. We're going to answer one more, and then we're going to call it a day. Thank you to all you guys for all the support. You guys show both of our channels. We'll be doing this next week on my channel. Hopefully you guys come by for that. But thank you to all you guys for being here. Really do appreciate it. I'm going to try to get one more question here. Gentleman needs to go first while you're talking to Mike. Mike's been on that for 2 years.
Oh,
yeah. Giants are wasting Riley. I'll tell you what, Riley Dixon, man. Duran, he doesn't even need to go to practice. Riley Dixon gets all the practice he needs in the game. So you know, all the other players have to practice. He could take the week off. He gets more than enough practice on Sundays. Let's see what we got here, man. Giants should hire Phil Jackson. Oh, yeah, Phil Jackson. That worked out well for the Knicks. Oh, God. Let's see. Okay, new ownership, Tyler wants to know. All right, we'll talk about ownership for a second. I mean, sure. Are you gonna get a guy to hypnotize them to get them to sell the team? But
that's the problem.
I mean, of course. I mean, ownership's been a problem, but you know, that's why I don't talk about ownership that much, because we could scream about it until we're blue in the face, but they own the team. I mean, it's kind of like Knicks with Dolan. He owns the team. What are you gonna do? You just have to hope that they learn their lesson and they get better over the course of time. But yeah, ownership's been bad. Mara's been bad. I mean, I always say it. I think this stems back to 2015, and I think most Giant fans agree with it. You know, when you decided to keep Reese and you fired Coughlin, it should have been a package deal. They didn't do that. And then it just spiraled out of control from there. So, and I put a lot of that on ownership. So, and obviously a lot of other things that spawned after the fact. But, yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, sure. But I don't think that's going to happen. They've had it forever. It's a family business. I don't think they're looking to sell it.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, of course, I would say go ahead and get a new owner if you could, but like, there's no way they're going to sell the team. They love owning the Giants. They're in that position that, you know, no other family gets to be in. So like, they're not going to do it. Luckily, your New York Mets got sold. That was good to see for you. But
oh my God, I partied like it was New Year's when they did that.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. We talked about that recently. Yeah. What was I going to say? But yeah, the way John Mara has done some business recently does not make a lot of sense. I mean, even this past offseason, when you let the head coach go but keep the GM, that made no sense to me. I thought Pat Shermer was not a good head coach, but he did a lot for Daniel Jones, and we're seeing it now, and we're seeing the repercussions of it. But like, why keep Gettleman? They came in at the same time. Like, why wouldn't they go at the same time? So that made no sense to me. And then you mentioned back in 2015 with Tom Coughlin, Jerry Reese, why fire one and not the other? They basically were in at the same time. Like, I think Coughlin was here maybe a bit earlier. Then Reese was promoted later, but still, let them go at the same time. It was a few disappointing years in a row after 2015. Let them both go and start fresh. And then John Mara scares me because I feel like once the GM search is going to happen, he's going to go in-house guys only. Like, I feel like this is about the time they have to go out of the organization and find a new GM, but I would not be surprised, knowing Mara, if it's Kevin Abrams.
Let me ask you this real quick. You were talking about being on the same timeline with Reese and with Coughlin, firing both, starting from scratch. I'm worried as a Giants fan because I don't want to get rid of Judge. I don't. I've talked about why extensively, blah, blah, blah. Do you worry if we do this that Judge could be out of a job within a year?
I do in a way. Here's the problem, right? So when you bring in these GM candidates to interview them, John Mara might have it so that you're not going to fire Joe Judge no matter what, and that might scare the best candidates away. So that's a negative right there. I feel like unless the GM candidate just, I don't know who it would even be at this point. Like, I feel like Judge is not going to get fired, but I guess it is on the table. It's not like it can't happen, but I just feel like John Mara is going to go into those interviews and pick the best GM candidate that's willing to work with Joe Judge as a head coach. I don't see them firing him. Of course, it's possible, but I just don't see it knowing John Mara and the way he works.
I hope not. You know, because that to me would spell disaster. You know, that would be 5 head coaches in like 5 years or 6 years or whatever, and then you're becoming the New York Knicks. And trust me, you don't want to be the New York Knicks. So I hope not. I certainly hope not. I just hope if they move on from Gettleman that they get it right and they get a guy in here that's willing to work with the coach that they have. But not a lot of, guys with credentials are going to want to be told who their head coach has to be. That's what I worry about. And even if he does accept him for 1 year, Judge could be out the next year if they win 5 or 6 games because he's going to want things his way. And you're getting a team that's just getting acclimated to the new coaching staff. So I kind of see it both ways. I get your mentality that you want a fresh start. You want a smart GM, a younger GM that, thinks analytically. And I get that. But I also get the people that want to keep it in-house because they don't want to create chaos. If you bring in an outsider that doesn't want to work with Joe Judge. So I get both sides of it.
Yeah, if they can bring in a guy that just promises them, like even if they have to bring in a new head coach, that he'll promise he'll turn things around here and make this team a winner in a couple of years, then I guess I can live with it because Joe Judge, honestly, at the end of the day, has not proven anything to us. I like him, but at the same time, he has not proven to be a great head coach yet. We all like him, but it's not like we're firing Bill Belichick here. It's Joe Judge who has not proved anything to us. He's coached 4 NFL games so far. So if the new GM wants to bring in a new head coach and thinks he'll be better for the organization and thinks that they can completely get off to a brand new start here and bring in his own guys and do the things the right way, then I guess I'm okay with it. But it all really depends who the GM is. Don't bring in some other dopey GM and say, I want a new coach, but bring in a bad coach. At least make it a good coach. It really depends what direction they want to go in. That's the big thing for me. So I won't be devastated if Judge got fired because at the end of the day, as I said, he hasn't proved anything. But if they did, it would be a shame because I like him. I want him to be here for more than 1 year, as we both know.
All right, here's what I'm going to say, because I see Roldy says, I like Judge. Why the hell would you be worried about he hasn't done anything, Chris? I'm not worried. It's not like I like Judge. I want Judge to succeed here. That's not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about if you're a coach, because obviously if you're the New York Giants, let's look at the other teams around the league right now. You got the New York Jets. They're going to be looking for a coach. The Houston Texans, we already know they're going to be looking for a coach. You've got, there's probably going to be 5 or 6
Jaguars.
Yeah, Jaguars. There's probably going to be at least 4, 5, 6 other teams that are going to be looking for a head coach. If you're the Giants, you want to be able to take your pick of the litter. You don't want to get the 3rd or 4th guy like we did with Pat Shurmur because I think that's what happened. If you fire Joe Judge after 1 year, what head coach is going to be rushed to this job? You fired Joe Judge after 1 year when he had a quarterback that had to learn a completely new scheme. He inherited a roster that won 12 games over the 3 previous seasons. You fired 2 coaches before that after 2 years, and then you fired the next guy after 1. That's what I'm worried about. The appearance to other potential head coach hires out there. It's chaos if you do that. You can't fire a head coach after 1 year after you just fired 2 others after 2 years. You need some stability. It's not even about Judge. It's about the way that it appears to other coaches that could potentially take this job.
Yep, 100%. We've talked about stability before, and this organization has not had it recently, and it's definitely not a good thing. And it would benefit them to keep Judge, but as we said, it all goes back to John Merritt's decision-making in 2015 and even this past offseason. You do the GM and the coach at the same time. It makes no sense because then you're in this predicament where this thing might actually happen. So we'll see what happens in the offseason, but he's putting his back against the wall here and putting the next GM in a tough situation because if he wants a certain head coach, then he might just pass on the job, honestly. It might be the best candidate, but he might not take the job because he might not get his head coach. So it's really back to John Merritt being, I don't want to say stupid, but just not doing things the right way.
Yeah, but we'll see, man. I know we got to get on with our days. I may be live tonight. I know Bobby's going live at 8. I don't want to interfere with that, so I'll probably go live around 9:30, maybe for a bit. But Mike, man, I had such a good time coming on, man. Always love doing the show with you. Keep up the great work on your channel. Keep doing what you do, man. And thank you to everybody for being here. I appreciate it, man. Afghanistan, Rose Tap, Roldy, John, William, everybody else who was in here. Spike the like. Subscribe to Mike. What are you doing? So, subscribe to Mike. Subscribe to the channel. Let's go. Let's get him above. He's near 20K, I think. Let's get him to 20K right now. Thank you to everybody for being here. Really do appreciate it. And we'll see. We'll be doing the show next week on my channel. So hopefully see you guys over there for that. And hopefully we're talking. I think we both seem pretty optimistic off last week, but hopefully we're even more optimistic. And we got a New York Giants win, and we get to 1-4, man. But Mike, close it out, man. Thank you for having me on your channel.
Yeah, I want a Cowboys score prediction, by the way. Just give me that real quick.
Yes. I am going to go. You know what, Mike? I'm talking to you. You're a positive guy. Sometimes. Not with Gettleman.
Sometimes.
But Oh, man. I really want to pick them to win. But you know what it is? I picked them to win the last 2 weeks. They lost. So I am going to say they lose a close game. I'm going to go 27-24. I think the Giants put up some points. I'm going to have the Cowboys winning by a field goal. I think it's a close game. I think the offense comes out. They look better. But the Cowboys offense in the end is just a little bit too much.
Yeah, I'm close to you. I was going to say 30-24 Dallas wins this game, unfortunately. I'll go with that.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. I think we'll have an opportunity like last week. But yeah, I just think Dallas is a better football team.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, thanks everyone that joined us today. My apologies for the camera not working. I have no idea why it didn't work, but we'll try and situate that out next week. But we'll talk to you guys on Chris's channel, and we appreciate you for joining.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day.